Dedicated anti-tank vehicles made their first major appearance during the Second World War. Some were a little more than stopgap solutions, mounting an anti-tank gun on a tracked vehicle to give mobility, while others were more sophisticated designs. While tanks are designed for frontline combat, combining operational mobility and tactical offensive and defensive capabilities, tank destroyers are specifically designed to take on enemy tanks and other armored fighting vehicles. In this video, we listed the top 10 best tank destroyers of World War II. Let's get started. Number 10 is the Su-76M. It was based on a longer and widened version of the T-70 light tank chassis. Simple construction made it the second most produced Russian armored vehicle of World War II, after the T-34 tank, with around 14,000 produced. It was armed with a 76mm Z3 cannon, just like the T-34, but was a lot lighter, weighing just under 11 tons. The armor had a maximum thickness of 35mm at the front and 16mm on each side. The crews liked the vehicle for its simplicity, reliability, and ease of use. It was the single Russian vehicle able to operate in swamps with minimal support from engineers. During the Belarus Liberation Campaign in 1944, it was extremely useful for surprise attacks through swamps, bypassing German heavy defenses on firmer ground. After World War II, it was used by Communist forces in the Korean War. Number 9 is the M10 Wolverine. It was the most widely produced American tank destroyer, with a total of 6,706 vehicles produced. The M10 combined thin sloped armor with a reasonably powerful 76mm M7 cannon mounted in an open-top turret. American tank destroyer doctrine emphasized speed and a powerful cannon over armor. As a result, the M10's armor was a maximum of 57mm thick, which made it vulnerable to most German anti-tank weapons. Despite its obsolescence in the face of more powerful German tanks like the Panther, and the introduction of more powerful and better designed tank destroyers as replacements, the M10 remained in service until the end of the war. During World War II, the primary user of the M10 tank destroyer was the United States, but many were lend-leased to the United Kingdom, the USSR, and the Free French forces. Number 8 is the M18 Hellcat. It was the fastest American tank on the road, with a top speed of 80 km per hour. The speed was attained by keeping armor as thin as possible, which was a maximum of 25mm. The M18 was equipped with a 76mm M1 cannon. With the M4 Sherman's radial engine, high top speed, and excellent cannon, it made the Hellcat the most effective American tank destroyer of World War II. The M18 had a higher kill-to-loss ratio than any tank fielded by US forces during World War II. From July 1943 to October 1944, 2,507 were manufactured. Number 7 is the M36 Jackson. The M36 combined Sherman's reliable chassis with sloped armor and a massive new turret mounting the 90mm M3 cannon. It was the standardized version of the experimental T7, a derivative of the 90mm cannon developed as a vehicle-mounted anti-tank weapon. With the appearance of heavy German armor, such as the Panther and Tiger, the standard US tank destroyer, the M10, was rapidly becoming obsolete because its main armament, the 3-inch M7 cannon, had difficulties trying to penetrate the newer tank's frontal armor past several hundred meters. After World War II, some were supplied to South Korea as part of the military assistance program and remained in service for years. During the Korean War, it was able to defeat any of the communist tanks used in the conflict. 2 M36s remained in service with the Republic of China Army at least until 2001. Number 6 is the Hetzer. It was a German light tank destroyer, which was based on a modified Czechoslovak Panzer 38T chassis. The Hetzer was intended to be cheaper than other German tank destroyers of the time. Using a proven Panzer 38 chassis, it avoided the mechanical problems of larger armored vehicles, like the Panther. It was armed with a 75mm PaK-39L 48 cannon, which could penetrate almost 100mm of armor at 1,000-meter distance. One report from the Eastern Front stated that a company of these tank destroyers destroyed 20 tanks without any losses of their own. From March 4, 1944 to May 11, 1945, approximately 2,900 were manufactured by the Skoda factory. Number 5 is the Yacht Panzer IV. It used a modified Panzer IVH chassis, but the almost vertical front hull plate was replaced by sloped plates up to 80mm thick. To make the manufacturing process as simple as possible, the superstructure was made out of large interlocking plates that were welded together. The armament consisted of a 75mm cannon, originally intended to be the PaK-42 L70, the same as fitted to the Panther. Installing the very heavy PaK-42 meant that it was heavy on the front, especially with the thick frontal armor. This made it less mobile and more difficult to operate in rough terrain. Number 4 is the ISU-152. It was unofficially nicknamed the Beast Killer from its predecessor, the Su-152, for its ability to reliably kill the best protected German fighting vehicles. The ISU-152 was armed with the same cannon as the Su-152, but it used the hull of the IS-1 instead of the KV-1S. Later in the war, it was further improved. It used the hull of the IS-2. The armor was increased to a maximum thickness of 120mm, and its cannon was replaced by newer variants. The ISU-152 combined 3 battle roles: heavy assault gun, heavy tank destroyer, and heavy self-propelled artillery. From 1943 to 1947, over 4,500 were produced. Number 3 is the STUG 3. It was Germany's most produced fully tracked armored fighting vehicle during World War II, and the second most produced armored combat vehicle of any type, after the SDKFZ 251 half-track. The STUG 3 was built on a proven Panzer III chassis, replacing the turret with an armored fixed superstructure with a powerful 75mm cannon. It was put into service in 1940 and was initially intended as a mobile assault gun for direct fire support. It proved to be very successful and served on all fronts in various roles. Because of its low profile, it was easy to camouflage and was a difficult target. That's why it destroyed more enemy armored vehicles during World War II than any other armored vehicle throughout the conflict. Number 2 is the Yak Panther. The tank destroyer was based on the Panther's chassis. It entered service in 1944 in the later stages of the war. Armament was the same as on the Tiger II, the 88mm PaK-43 cannon. It had a good power-to-weight ratio and a powerful main cannon, which allowed it to eliminate any Allied armored vehicle. Based on the existing Panther G chassis, the vehicle did not suffer too many mechanical problems. It had an upgraded transmission, which had been planned for the Panther II. Although it had an excellent cannon, armor, and suspension, it suffered from generally low quality of German ordnance production, maintenance, and training in the later part of the war, which resulted in small production numbers, shortage of spare parts, and poor crew readiness. Number 1 is the Su-100. Production began in September 1944. It had major improvements over its predecessor, the Su-85. The thickness of the frontal armor was increased from 45 to 75mm, and the commander's workplace was made into a small sponson on the right side, which improved the commander's effectiveness. German tank destroyer versions of the Panzer IV, Panther, and Tiger lacked this key piece of observational equipment. The Su-100 was armed with the 100mm D10S cannon. Later, it was fitted to the T-54 and the T-55. The Su-100 quickly proved to be able to penetrate around 125mm of vertical armor from 2 kilometers away. It was used extensively during the last year of World War II and for many years afterward with the armies of Russian allies around the world, like during the 1956 Suez Crisis, in which the Egyptians used Su-100 against Israel.